In this video, we're going to take a look at the difference between instance and static members. This is a point of confusion that a lot of new developers have is what's the difference? How do they work? Why would I use one versus the other? Hey, Chris here from LlamAcademy, here to help you. Yes, you. Make your game dev dreams become a reality in part 4 of the Introduction to C# with a Unity focus. Let's start with the instance members. In our last video, we had 3 different members. We had the float auto destroy time, the bool spawn fixed update, and the auto destroy text prefab. These are only available when we have a live instance of our object spawner. What that also means is that each object spawner could have different values for these. So our object spawner is pretty generic. It could actually work across many different kinds of prefabs. As long as that prefab has the auto destroy text script on it, we can use this object spawner. And we can change the value of each of these variables independently without it affecting any other object spawner. For example, in the Unity editor, if you went create a new game object, attach an object spawner, you can do the exact same thing, create another one, attach a new object spawner, and now we have 2 instances of object spawner. In the vast majority of cases, we want to have an instance of whatever script that we're talking about, either a class, mono behavior, whatever it is. I am going to be referencing the last video in the series a lot in this one because I'm assuming you watched that one to get to number 4 here. If you didn't, go ahead and check out that video, link in the description, card on the screen, somewhere up here. That way you understand where we're coming from in this one. So if we use that last one as an example, we had a bunch of auto destroy text that spawned on the screen, and each of these had the same behavior, but operated within a different this context. So let's talk about what is this. This is actually a keyword in C# that references our current instance of this class. So I have one concrete instance I can hold in my hand if I was a robot inside the computer, and I have another one. They can have totally different values. If I'm not using a mono behavior, I can just use new and then that keyword, like we used vector3 before, we can just do new vector3. That gives us a new instance of that vector3 class that we can change independently of anything else. For example, if we want to have a variable named auto destroy time, and in a function, it accepts a variable called the same thing, auto destroy time, how do we tell the difference between the class member variable auto destroy time and that function auto destroy time? We will use this to say, on this instance, there's a property called auto destroy time, and I want to use that reference. Another example of when we might use this is if you need to pass a class reference to a function. So for example, in my game, Llama Survival, I have events that get raised, and we need to know which enemy died, for example. That way we can give some experience and this kind of stuff. That enemy is the one that raises the death event that says, hey, everyone, I have died. If you care about it, I'm going to invoke this function saying that I died. I pass this in that context, so that way the function that will receive that event will know, hey, this particular instance of an enemy is now dead, and we can do some processing based on that current instance. So when we're talking about instances, we can think about them as concrete objects that exist somewhere. So if we're talking about instance members, that's properties, that's variables, that's functions, these kinds of things that live inside the class. Those at an instance level are all that we've used so far on our own scripts. But you'll notice that whenever we were trying to get the screen width and height, we didn't have to instantiate a new screen to access it, right? We just did screen referencing that class screen and said .width to find out how wide is the screen and .height to find out how tall the screen is. That's where the static comes in. So far everything we've talked about has been local instances. When we're talking about things like the screen, we don't need a reference to that concrete implementation, right? We don't need a live object to operate on. So if we want to be really specific, static is a modifier that we attach to a variable or a function that's on a class, or we can also attach it to the class itself, only if that class has static functions and variables exclusively on it. So that means we can't have a local variable or a local function. It'll actually give us an error if we try to do that. So that was kind of a lot about what is static. So let's start with something simple. Let's start with the variables. Like I was saying a second ago, the width and the height on the screen class are static variables that are available to us. They're public static. This means that we can call screen.width and screen.height, again, without a live reference to screen, and get back a value. This can be really convenient, as you saw with the screen. Having to instantiate a new screen object doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's already a screen, right? But you need to be a little bit careful about making stuff static because, especially I remember when I was in college, one of my very early courses, They were teaching us about static and we were like, okay, cool. I can just have like this variable I can reference from anywhere. That's cool. Let me go ahead and just make it static. And I ended up coming into some place where I ended up having to keep making more and more things static to make this work, because you can't reference a static variable from an instance context. So a really common trap that junior developers get into, or someone who's just learning how to do development, is you make something static because it's kind of convenient and you think, okay, that could be cool. And you just keep having to add more and more things and make more and more things static. Once you've identified, hey, I'm making a lot of stuff static, pause, take a step back and think, does it make sense for this to be static? Should this variable that I started with actually be static, or was I trying to take a shortcut to achieve something? So if we want to get technical, a static property can only be referenced from the type name. That's what we call a class. Second, whenever we are changing a property value that is static, we're changing that for everything, right? So if we again take back the screen example, if I adjust that screen width, I don't have multiple instances of screens running around. So if I say screen width has changed, every single screen width that I will ever try to reference has been changed. The last thing I want to say technically about this is that a static variable cannot reference anything to do with a local variable. That generally applies more to functions, but if you have a property on a class that is not a static class, and in the getter you want to put in some logic there, that logic cannot reference a local type. If you try to do that, you'll get an error from the compiler. Next, let's take a look at the static method. Based on what we just learned, that means that everything that we put into this method must be either a static variable, passed in as an argument, or be created within the scope of this function, like a new class instantiation, struct instantiation, something like that. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say that we have this static example class that has a public int z equals 10 and public static int multiply that accepts int x and int y. In there, let's say that we just return x times y. Those are both passed in as an argument, so that's totally safe to do. But if we wanted to suddenly decide that we also want this multiply to include our z value, now we have a problem, because that int z is not static. It's a local property on the static example class. And remember, static example is actually not a static class. So it'll give us an error.
CS0120, an object reference is required for the non-static field, method or property static example z.
Which sounds kind of scary, but it's actually pretty self-explanatory. We tried to reference a non-static field from a static context, and that's not possible. If we step back and think about that for just a second, remember that static there's only one of, right? There's one ever. If we're trying to have one thing that we want to multiply two numbers by inside of, but we're trying to multiply that by a specific instance value, how does that one global thing know which instance of static example to use the z value for? It's not possible to tell. By default, that z value has 10, but maybe on this instance over here, it's been changed to 5. On this one, it's 15. Should I use 5, 10, or 15? We can't know which one to use. That's why we get the error from the compiler. This example is especially where you'll run into the thing, oh, let me just make something else static because it says I can't reference this variable from the static context. Let's just make that static too. And then you end up with everything being static. So be really smart about it. Think about, does it make sense to have this static, or should I have different values? And maybe this needs to be passed in as an argument to my static function. The really cool thing about static functions is they always do the same thing and they don't care about really state of stuff, except the state that's passed to them. If we look at the screen API, for example, that has the change screen resolution function on it. That's a static function that we can call that'll just update the screen size for us. That makes a lot of sense to be static because, again, the screen, there's only one active, right? We have one screen window and we want to adjust the size of that. If we go back to having like an enemy as an example, it does not make sense for enemy take damage to be a static function, because which enemy should take damage? If you make it where there's only one function that operates on all enemies, you attack one and it affects all enemies, that doesn't really make sense. Whenever you're making your classes, you should think about these kinds of things to say, should it be a local instance? Should it be a static instance? Static, only if there's going to be one that you ever want there to be. Local, if you need multiple different variations. Finally, let's talk about the static class. Static classes have the restriction that every single member underneath it must also be static. You also cannot instantiate a static class because there's, again, only one of them. That's what the static is saying, right? So it doesn't make sense to make multiple instances if there's only one, and it has no local properties anyway. so it doesn't really make sense to make an instance of it. If you do try to put some local fields on a static class, you're going to get this error,
CS0708 cannot declare instance members in a static class.
which actually, I don't know why I did a robot voice on that one. That one makes a lot of sense. I think that was pretty self-explanatory. Really adding the static modifier to the class is just telling the compiler, telling the computer, please enforce this, don't let me do something wrong. Make sure that everything in here stays static. Now I want to introduce a topic to you that is a little bit controversial in game development. Some people say you should never do this. Some people say this is fine. I'm more on the it's fine as long as you don't misuse it camp. And what that is what we call a singleton. This uses both what we've talked about, instance and static combined into a single class. And the purpose of it is to make it so there's only one of them in the scene at a time. This is a really common thing to do where people will have their game state or a game manager type of class that's a singleton that will manage whatever it is, the game logic for your game. So how do we make a singleton? Generally speaking, it looks something like this. We use a static property to make sure that we only have one of them active at a time. Usually I'll set this up on awake, so that way we check if we've maybe misconfigured our scene where we've added multiple of them and give ourselves a warning telling us, hey, you messed something up, something's wrong. That's usually how I have it working. So we just have the instance and we have the private set because we only want this class to be able to set that value. That's really important because we don't want just anybody to be able to assign a new one. Then we end up with some weird behavior. The whole concept is this is a self-contained singleton. I wanted to introduce this topic to you because in the homework we're going to actually have to implement one, and I wanted it not to be a super foreign concept to you. The reason that this is particularly useful for us is a lot of times on a singleton we need to reference stuff that's available on the mono behavior or the game object class. It's also sometimes useful to be able to parent stuff for that particular singleton underneath that singleton object. Not all singletons have to be mono behavior singletons, but a lot of times you'll find that you do need to use some of those available functions and properties that come on game objects and mono behaviors. By defining the singleton in this way, it allows us to have a reference through the class name for the instance property. So if we, in this particular case, did singleton.instance, referencing the singleton class, we can then get a reference to the instance, the active instance of this singleton, and then we can do something based on that instance. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. Every one of you is helping this channel grow, reach more people, and add value to more people, and that means more people are making their game development dreams become a reality. If you want to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/LlamAcademy, choose which tier is right for you, get a voice shout starting at the awesome tier, and some other cool perks at the tremendous and phenomenal tier level. Speaking of those awesome tier supporters, I have Andrew Bowen, Gerald Anderson, Autumn K, Matt Parkin, and Paul Berry. Thank you all for your support. I am so grateful. Let's move on to check out the homework from last video, review the solution at least that I came up with. So last video we had the homework assignment to have homework text fall down on a canvas over time and destroy itself whenever it either went off screen or if the time ran out. You can see that I did it like this, which I think is a probably pretty simple way of handling that. And you'll see in the demo there that they fell down, ones that were moving particularly slowly or maybe spawned too high. Those would destroy before they went off screen, but then in the scene view you can see that as they fell down, if they went beyond the screen, then they immediately disappeared regardless of how much time they had left. Finally, it's time for the homework. What I want you to do is to create a new static class that will allow you to create instances of the prefab that you pass to it. Maybe we'll make the method called spawn prefab and it will spawn that prefab at a particular location. If you want, what you can do for bonus points is to make it where it's a singleton mono behavior. That way there's only one of them active in the scene at a time, and it will spawn all of these objects as a child of that singleton. Based on everything we've talked today, I know you have everything you need to make that homework happen without a lot of help. Of course, documentation is always welcome. I've included a bunch of links down in the description below, so do not be afraid to look at those and get a better understanding of all the things we've talked about so far today. If you've been getting value out of this video or the series, please consider liking and subscribing to help the channel grow, reach more people, and add value to more people. There's new videos posted every Tutorial Tuesday, and I'll see you next week.